The Pyramids of Egypt, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, built by skilled craftsmen. From these early times, tools have evolved continuously, becoming lighter, faster, and safer, allowing us to build our modern, high-performance world. In this program, we'll discuss preparing to work, choosing the right tool, and using tools safely. Because tools are such a routine part of our everyday lives, it's easy to forget how dangerous they can be. Electric and pneumatic power tools can make performing a task easier and more efficient while minimizing wear and stress on the body. But the same thing that makes power tools so useful, their motor-driven energy and speed, can also create potential hazards for you. While injuries from manually powered hand tools are often less serious than injuries from power tools, hand tool injuries occur more frequently and include eye loss, fractures, punctures, cuts, and bruises. Hand and power tool hazards can be traced to either using a tool improperly or poor maintenance. By remembering the risks and following basic safety procedures while in the shop or out on the job, accidents can be avoided. The first step in working safely with hand and power tools is to maintain a safe work environment. Make sure the lighting in the area where you'll be working is adequate. Cluttered work areas invite accidents. Tools left on the floor can become trip hazards, while tools scattered on a bench or ledge can fall off and injure someone. Store tools in a dry, secure location when not in use. To prevent accidental slips, keep floors as clean and dry as possible. When working with hand and power tools, dress appropriately. For using power tools, tie back hair that is shoulder length or longer, and avoid wearing jewelry or clothing that can catch in rotating parts. The personal protective equipment you'll need to wear depends on the type of tools you will be working with. Each hand or power tool you use may require specific personal protective equipment that you should be aware of. For example, cutting, grinding, chipping, and sanding are a few of the tasks that can produce flying objects or dust, and safety glasses with side shield or safety goggles are a must. If an activity generates fine or toxic dusts, check your company's written respiratory protection program to determine the respirator or dust mask you will need to wear. When using power tools, hearing protection, such as earplugs or earmuffs, must be worn. Noise levels reach 85 decibels or more, reached over an 8-hour time period. In most situations, shoes or boots with sturdy leather uppers and non-skid soles are appropriate. Using footwear with a reinforced toe provides additional protection against dropped equipment, while a non-conductive sole provides additional protection against hazardous electricity. Wearing the appropriate gloves protect from splinters and minor cuts, and reduce the impact of vibration. But when working with some power tools, such as drills or saws, gloves themselves can become a hazard and should not be worn. If you have any questions about the type of personal protective equipment you'll need for the tools you use, ask your supervisor. Always follow the manufacturer's instructions for the proper use and maintenance of hand and power tools. When selecting blades, bits, cutters, grinding wheels, or other attachments for power tools, the manufacturer's recommendations provide the best guide. Remember that each tool is designed to do only certain jobs. For example, pliers are a versatile tool, but do not use them in place of a wrench. Plier jaws are flexible and non-locking, making it difficult to turn tight nuts and bolts without slipping. Using a screwdriver as a chisel or pry bar can easily cause it to break or chip, exposing you or a nearby coworker to injury. Choosing the right tool for each task isn't just a smart safety decision, it's another way of improving productivity while turning out higher quality work. Only use tools around live electrical systems if you are qualified to do so. Use pliers, screwdrivers, or wire cutters that have an insulated grip, and check that the protective covering is free of cracks or holes. When working around flammable gases, highly volatile liquids, or other explosive substances, a non-powered hand tool can produce sparks that could be an ignition source. Where a flammable or explosive hazard exists, only use spark-resistant hand and power tools that have been specially designed to be explosion-proof. Using any tool, inspect its condition to make sure it can function safely. If the handle on a tool such as a hammer or an axe is loose, splintered, or cracked, the head of the tool may fly off and strike you or a coworker. Instead of taping the handle or attempting to get by, have the handle replaced before using the tool. Card wrenches that have cracked, sprung, or worn jaws. They can easily slip and cause an injury. With repeated use, impact tools such as chisels and wedges can develop mushroomed heads. When used in that condition, they can shatter on impact, sending sharp fragments flying. Safely, recondition or replace these tools as necessary. The body of electric tools for cracks or other damage. Check that power cords are not frayed, that plugs do not have loose or broken prongs. Whether the tool's power switch can be locked in the on position or automatically shuts power off when the trigger is released. The switch should operate freely without sticking. Replace saw blades that have teeth that are dull, chipped, or missing, and drill or router bits that are dull or bent. Power tools have safety guards to prevent contact with potential hazards, such as rotating parts, blades, pinch points, flying particles, or sparks. Before using a power tool, check that the appropriate guards are in place and working properly. A skiller saw, for example, has two guards. The upper guard is fixed, the lower guard retracts while making a cut. Protect the operator from contact with the moving blade. The lower guard automatically returns to the covering position when the tool is withdrawn. Before plugging the saw in, always make sure that the lower guard works freely and clear away any wood chips or sawdust that could prevent the guard from closing. Every hand and power tool has built-in design limitations. Overloading a tool by pushing it beyond its range of safe operation can damage the tool and cause injury. For this reason, it's important to operate all tools according to the manufacturer's instructions. To prevent accidental startups, run the extension cord to the worksite before connecting it to a power tool. And before plugging in a tool, always make sure the power switch is in the off position. When using any power tool, remember to keep your finger off the start switch. Carrying screwdrivers, chisels, punches, or other sharp-edged tools in your pocket could cause a serious injury if you trip. Use a tool belt, a cart, or a toolbox instead. Knife should be carried in a sheath or holder placed over the hip rather than on the front part of the belt. Climbing a ladder, carry your tools on a tool belt, or hoist the tools to the work location using a bucket or bag that's secured to a rope. This leaves both hands free so that you can maintain 3 points of contact with the ladder for safer climbing. When using hand or power tools, make sure your hands are free of oil and grease to prevent slipping. Before using a power saw, inspect the material to be cut for nails, staples, or other objects that could create potential hazard if struck by a rotating blade. Take note of your surroundings before beginning any cutting or striking activity, and put the tool away from aisle areas and other employees working nearby. Maintain good balance while using power tools, distributing your weight equally on both feet. Wait for the tool to achieve operating speed before beginning work. Once started, keep up a steady, even pressure, but never force the tool. Letting the tool do the work allows the bit or saw blade to cut smoothly. To stay safe when using knives, box cutters, or power saws, always make sure the blade you are using is sharp. Test a tool's sharpness. Never run your finger along the edge. Rest on a piece of scrap material instead. Dull tools are dangerous because they require greater effort and increase the chance of a slip or a kickback. When using knives and box cutters, cut in the direction away from your body. It will prevent injuries if the blade catches or slips. Secure small work pieces on a flat surface or in a vise. Never hold material in your hand while you are working on it. If the tool slips, it could cause a serious cut or puncture wound. Always clamp smaller work pieces to prevent them from moving. A secured object can become a flying projectile if a tool catches or binds. Do not push tools beyond their capacity. Never hammer on a wrench, for instance, or use an extension such as a pipe to improve leverage. Instead, select a wrench with a longer handle and use penetrating oil to help loosen stuck nuts and bolts. Avoid forcing a power tool by applying excessive pressure. This can overheat the tool and reduce operator control. If at any time you experience unusual vibration, noise, sparking, or other indications that a power tool is malfunctioning, stop work immediately and have the tool checked by a qualified individual. To protect yourself and coworkers from electrical shock or burns, power tools have either a 3-wire cord with a grounding prong or are double insulated. Double insulated tools have an internal layer of protective insulation completely isolating the tool's external housing. To check if a tool is double insulated, look for the underwriter's lab seal and a double insulation designation. Further protect against electrical injury, unplug tools when not in use, before servicing and cleaning, and when changing accessories. When plugging a tool, grasp the plug instead of yanking the cord. To obtain a cord's physical integrity, never carry an electric tool by its cord, and keep cords away from heat, oil, and sharp edges. Remember that water is an excellent conductor of electricity and can create a dangerous path between you and an electric power source. For that reason, never use a power tool while standing in water. When working with a power tool in a damp environment or outdoors, plug into a GFCI protected outlet. GFCI, or ground fault circuit interrupter, monitors imbalances in the flow of electricity. If current does not follow its intended path, the GFCI can quickly cut power before it travels through you and causes serious shock and injury. Not handled carefully, compressed air can be dangerous. Never point a compressed air gun at anyone or use compressed air to clean your clothing. If using compressed air to clean equipment, make sure the pressure is reduced to less than 30 pounds per square inch. Working with pneumatic tools, the most common danger is getting struck by one of the tool's attachments or by a fastener shot from the tool such as a staple or nail. To prevent this, first, always check that the tool you will be using is securely fastened to the air hose and any attachment is secured to the tool. Whether a tool contains a fastener or not, never point it at yourself or anyone else. Be aware that many pneumatic tools have a trigger that is easily activated. To stay safe, keep your finger off the trigger until you are ready to begin working. When a task is completed, wait for the tool to come to a complete stop before setting it down. Hopping may seem like a simple or boring task. Removing excess sawdust, grime, moisture, and other debris from your tools after each use will keep them working properly. To prevent accidents, as well as loss or damage to your tools, when you are finished with a task, have a specific location to store each tool. Store cutting tools by covering or retracting blades. They can't cause injuries to someone reaching into a toolbox or drawer. Storing a pneumatic hose, avoid putting kinks in the hose by carefully coiling it over a broad support, instead of hanging it on a hook, nail, or angle iron. Without hand and power tools, many of the tasks we routinely perform would be much more difficult or impossible. When we use tools every day, however, it becomes all too easy to underestimate the hazards. Minimize your risk of injury. Remember these safety principles every time you use a hand or power tool. Keep all tools in good condition with regular maintenance. The right tool for the job. Examine each tool before use, and do not use damaged tools. The correct personal protective equipment for the tool and the environment. Operate tools according to the manufacturer's instructions. If you have questions about the hand and power tools you use, ask your supervisor. We've come a long way since the first tools, and our awareness of how to stay safe in the workplace has also advanced. To prevent accidents or injuries from slowing you down, follow safe work practices every time you pick up a hand or power tool.